Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
Put us in a box. Go ahead. That just gives us something to break out of. Because the next generation 2025 GMC Terrain Elevation is raising the standard of what comes standard. As far as expectations go, why meet them when you can shatter them? What we choose to challenge, we challenge completely. We are professional grade. Visit gmc.com to learn more.
This is Optimal Health Daily. Think for Yourself, Part 2 by Enamait of RossTraining.com. And I'm Dr. Neil Malik. Hey there, happy Saturday. Thank you so much for being here and welcome back to Optimal Health Daily, where I act as your narrator of the best health and fitness blogs, all for free. Now, if you're a bit lost and you're like, wait a second, did he just say this is part 2 of an episode? You are correct that this is technically part 2 from one of Ross's other articles. It's an article I narrated a few years back. So if you want a refresher of that one, you can go way back to episode 1553. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. That's because the article I'm about to read to you does stand on its own. But I promise, if you want to continue and listen to this episode without the refresher, I promise this stands on its own. So with that, let's get right to it and continue optimizing your life. Think for Yourself, Part 2 by Enamait of RossTraining.com. To begin, my advice to think for yourself is not a suggestion to reinvent the wheel. Strength isn't new. The wheel has already been invented. Clearly, the novice needs direction. For example, they aren't expected to arrive at the gym on their first day with all of the answers. Even Einstein had to gradually acquire his knowledge. Thinking for yourself doesn't mean spitting in the face of common logic. I'm certainly not knocking traditional sources of knowledge like reading books, working with different routines, questioning more experienced athletes, and so on. Instead, I simply remind you that you too can become a valuable source of knowledge. Often, we learn by doing. There is only so much that you can take away from a book that was written by someone else. Human beings are not automated robots. We must all recognize and appreciate the uniqueness of each individual. Dependencies. Unfortunately, many from the fitness industry would like you to believe that their word is gospel. It is their way or the highway. These same people often try to confuse otherwise simple topics in an attempt to create dependencies. There is nothing more ignorant than suggesting there is a single way to train. Great athletes have been developed with countless methods and protocols. There is no single way, and there never will be. As I stated before in a past entry, quote, "The internet has changed the fitness industry. Never before has getting in shape been made out to be so complex. I'm only in my 30s, but even we didn't have the internet when I was in high school. I didn't learn of the internet until my freshman year in college. Back in the day, no one assumed that a degree in rocket science was required to build strength in the gym. I know groups of guys who may have had one brain between the entire group, yet were monsters in the gym. Not many athletes and gym rats were in contention for valedictorian. I'd be willing to bet that our high school valedictorian didn't know the difference between a pull-up and a chin-up. Fitness wasn't his gig. Exercise wasn't thought of as one of the lucrative fields to pursue. There were still loads of strong and amazing athletes, however. The difference was that no one was trying to confuse them with irrelevant BS athletes that went to the gym and busted their ass. The results followed. That's it. Nothing fancy." End quote. Raise the bar. Furthermore, thinking for yourself often means nothing more than reacting to the moment. For example, if a cookie-cutter routine calls for 4 sets, you won't be penalized or fined if you feel the need to go for a 5th or 6th set. You don't need to be a 10-year veteran to have a good day. There is nothing wrong with raising the bar and trying to separate yourself from the majority. As a kid, I would come home from baseball practice and pitch into an empty garbage can. I had days when I pitched a full game by myself. I called balls and strikes as I pitched into the empty barrel. On other days, I would throw the ball against a backstop and practice fielding ground balls. I practiced into the evening, long after the sun went down. I wasn't an experienced elite athlete. I was a young kid who wanted to be better than everyone else. If the team practiced for 2 hours, I wanted to practice for 4. I never wanted to be like everyone else. I wanted to be better. Still trying. 20 years later, I'm still trying to improve. Despite all of the books and journals that I've read, there were certain things that I needed to find out on my own. The answers for me weren't written in a book. I had to get in the gym, experiment with different methods, and then come to my own conclusions. I've also learned that what works for me may not always work for one of my athletes. I don't force my athletes to follow my exact lead. I recognize the uniqueness of the individual and cater their plans accordingly. There isn't a single book of answers that will apply exactly to all individuals. As a novice, you'll gain strength by looking at a barbell. Almost anything will work. The time will come, however, when you begin to plateau. Yes, you'll need to seek out new sources of knowledge, for example, within a book, but you'll also need to learn things on your own. And while this may be common sense to some, there are still plenty who overlook the seemingly obvious truth. Many have been misled to believe that they cannot think on their own. They've been fooled by those puppet masters who do everything in their power to create false dependencies. The truth. Look at dominant athletes from any sport, and more often than not, you'll find athletes who engage in unique methods. Does anyone actually believe that all successful powerlifters follow the exact routine day after day? Does anyone actually believe that there is a single strength program that everyone in the world should follow precisely? Even athletes with similar goals may need entirely different routines. For example, suppose John and Joe both wish to improve their bench press. If John's weakness is the lower half of the bench, but Joe struggles with his lockout, each man has unique needs. They will need to travel different roads to improve their lifts. Each is plagued by a unique bottleneck. Therefore, each requires unique attention. Many of the greats have figured things out for themselves. There will never be a single protocol or method that reigns supreme for all athletes. Even if such a program did exist, it would only last for a split second before someone then tried to make it better. Dominant athletes don't want to be like everyone else. They always want to take what's good and then make it better. That's the difference between the ordinary and extraordinary. You just listened to the post titled Think for Yourself, Part 2 by Ross Enamait of RossTraining.com, and I'll be right back with my commentary. The origins of this podcast were once just a dream. That dream turned into the podcast and business you're listening to today. Starting your own business is a dream lots of us share, but too many of us let it remain just a dream. Don't hold yourself back thinking, what if I don't have the skills? What if I can't do it alone? Turn those what ifs into why nots with Shopify by your side. Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide and handles 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel to brands just getting started. Build campaigns that reach customers wherever they're scrolling. Plus, Shopify's expertise covers everything: inventory, shipping, returns, and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/OHD. Go to shopify.com/OHD. Shopify.com/OHD. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it filters out incompatible applicants. So when you're hiring, the process is much faster, and you only have to consider applicants that are already likely to be a great fit. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/health. Just go to Indeed.com/health right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/health. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Dr. Neil here for my commentary. One of the most frustrating aspects of teaching the principles of nutrition to my students is the fact that there are so many different nutritious meal plans, it's hard to know which one to recommend to a patient or client. There's the 5 to 9 campaign, meaning aim to consume at least 5 to 9 combined servings of fruits and vegetables each day. Then there's My Plate, which provides a visual of how to divide up your plate so that it incorporates all the major food groups. Then there's the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, vegetarian and vegan diets, and on and on. In class, I discuss all of these and more in detail. And by the end, students are usually completely confused. I tell students all of these diets are great options because they all incorporate nutritious, minimally processed foods. And so we could recommend any of these to our patients. But every semester, without fail, a student will ask me, but if I had to pick one to recommend, what should I say? This is a very valid question, and the right answer is pick the one that works best for the patient. Now, that's not the answer students want to hear, but again, it's the right one. We need to find what works best for them, because after all, that's what's going to lead to long-term success. So, just as today's author, Ross Enamait, said, when it comes to exercise, make sure that we have sound fundamentals, but then expand on those and find what works for us. This is what's going to lead to long-term change and gain. All right, that'll do it for today. I hope you're having a great weekend. And of course, I'll see you back here tomorrow as usual, where your optimal life awaits.